So welcome everybody to Digital Intelligence WebEx presentation of OS Forensics. This is a fully featured digital forensic software that we felt that our customer base would be interested in. Lots of great features I'm going to try and go over today and highlight. There's some really nice capabilities, very well thought out, well done. And one of the really nice things is this organization has been unbelievably responsive these last couple of months we've been working together, releasing multiple versions. In fact, I think they've released 10 new versions in the course of the last 6 to 8 weeks, and maybe 2 months now, because we keep requesting different features and making modifications to make it more user-friendly and more forensically sound. So their ability to respond to customer requests and their customer service has been phenomenal. So what I'm going to start with just real quick is to let you know where you can get some information. So first off, of course, the Digital Intelligence website. We have plenty of information on here about all our different training courses and the software we have available. This is the current schedule for our OS Forensics. You can see we offer in different time zones. We offer in person, we offer virtual. We've got some UTC classes in a variety of courses throughout the US time zones. So this is our current schedule. The OS Forensic pricing, you can get that obviously from our website, OS Forensics. They have a really interesting and I think versatile pricing model. You can do a month to month. You can buy an annual subscription. You can even get a full year site license. So if you have 20,000 investigators, you literally can buy one license and everybody can use it. So it's really impressive. They also offer perpetual licensing as well. So both options. So I've already got the software installed. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and launch the software. And what you'll notice is I just have the version that is available to us from download from the website. If you want to, of course, there's a 30-day trial that's available for that. It does have some limitations, some restrictions, some things that are available. But the full featured license, which you are able to get, in fact, I'm just going to go ahead and quickly grab this particular license. So I've got the license. What you'll see, very simple. Once you get it open, all you'll do is you'll copy the entire license, right? You'll simply copy this into memory, and then you'll choose within the software to upgrade. Simply paste in your license. Make sure you get everything from the top to the bottom. It's not just the code. It's everything from start to end. And register. Right, license is now good. That is a 2 full month license. Right, so now I can go ahead and close the program and relaunch the program, and you will then, of course, be able to get the full features of your tool. So this is the initial interface. This particular tool allows the investigator to kind of change the way you may approach digital forensics, right? Depending on the tools you've been using in the past, sometimes it's a matter of we just add our evidence, we check a bunch of boxes, we let it process, we come back and we do analysis. Well, you can do that with this tool, of course. You can do all that different types of processing. But this tool, it's very well written. It's very fast, even on the weakest of machines. In fact, you're going to see today, this is just simply an i5 with a 2.4 gigahertz processor, nothing special, 16 gigs of RAM. And I've only got 2 drives available. So I don't even have the ability to spread out my evidence, my case folder, and my OS, which is the minimum you would normally want to do. I'm just using a simple 2 drive setup, and it's still very fast. In a lot of training courses and demos, what you'll typically see is people use very cannibalized evidence, so things go much faster. Right. I'm not going to do that today. I have a full forensic image here. It's been kept up to date. It's fully loaded with all the things that you would want to see on it. Nothing has been trimmed. So everything I'm going to do here is going to be real time. And I think you'll be quite impressed with the speed in which it can do a lot of these things. All right. So in terms of what we can do with this tool, there's a couple different ways you can access. You've got your main screen here with a lot of the features. Of course, this tool is designed to look at forensic image files, your typical EO1 or raw forensic image files, AFF, whatever your favorite file type is. It is also easily accessible to individual files. So if you have mail files or a page file or a memory dump or just loose files that you want to process, you can point this to those loose files as well. It doesn't have to be forensic images. It also has very, very nice portable capabilities. You can make a portable version of this to take live, to plug into a machine, capture data, preview, triage, even process live on scene. Like I said, it's very, very fast. And you can also make a bootable version, so you have a forensic environment if, again, you want to make forensic images or process live on scene. A very versatile tool. You get the live, the triage, the portable, and the in-office version all incorporated into one. So all the features are available here on the main screen. You can choose any one of them, a wide array of them. We're going to talk about as many as we can in the time that we have together. And then, of course, on the left-hand side here, you've got a quick list of probably the more common features. But you can customize this screen. You can actually lock the screen if there are particular features you don't want other investigators in the office not to be able to access. You can really customize this and only have them able to see certain things. The auto triage here is phenomenal for in the field. Typically, you wouldn't want to do this right now because it's going to run on our live machine. So you'd want to run this out in the field. It does a ton of automated collections and gathering of data. It is really excellent. So I'm going to go to my manage case here. So I've got a couple cases already in here. I'm going to make a very quick new case. I'm not going to bother with all the bells and whistles right now, so we're just going to call this our demo case. Right, all the things you typically expect here, all the different options you can customize and notes and things you can put in here, choosing your time zone, where you want your case to go. For right now, I'm going to leave everything as a default. Any and all of this I can change later, including my time zone if I don't know what the time zone happens to be. Right, and a beautiful log file that is available in this case to track pretty much everything you've done if you need a reminder or that type of detail. So built my case, obviously not terribly exciting in terms of that, but now we can add our evidence. So I'm going to choose to add a device, and there's a couple different ways you can do this. I'm going to add a device here. As you can see, live evidence, files, folders, network paths. We're going to talk a little about volume shadow copies and BitLocker encrypted drives. This is one of the best tools I've ever seen to deal with either of those. Very user-friendly and really powerful in what it can do, especially with volume shadow copies. I'm going to add an image file here, your typical kind of digital forensics. I'm going to add an entire forensic image of a drive. This is a laptop with 128 gig, maybe 256 gig drive, I don't recall. But like I said, absolutely, as you can see, it's only been modified a month ago. Completely up to date, everything that you need. You can choose with this tool to add the entire physical disk, or you can add individual partitions, or a combination of both, depending on how you want to focus. Right? I'm going to stick to just a couple of things today. So I'm not sure why you can't see the presentation. You should be able to see me running the tool here. So I apologize if you can't. Okay. So I'm just going to start with the operating system drive. So this is the operating system drive. And obviously, if you've been doing forensics for a while, you can obviously see the breakdown in terms of the the boot partition here and the Microsoft Reserve partition. So I've got this Windows partition. I know that's the Windows partition, right? So that's my Windows partition. I'm going to call that, just give it a name here of Windows. So I know that's what that is. Done a little triage on the front end. So I'm going to make that the default piece of evidence. In addition, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add once again that image file because I want to add another partition. Because what I noticed was it's telling me there's a BitLocker, right? There's a BitLocker partition. So I'm going to add that BitLocker partition, right? Give a little underscore, call it BL for BitLocker to remind me. I'm not going to make that default, right? But I'm going to add that. It says, hey, that's BitLocker encrypted. So what I'm going to do is add that and know that I'm going to have to deal with that later. So if I don't have the login credentials, right? If I don't have the login credentials or the recovery key, obviously I'm going to be limited, right? I'm going to be limited to what I'm going to be able to do with that. But we might stumble across it and we'll see what we can do. I can also add, if I'd like, another piece of evidence. So as you can imagine, you can add as many devices as you like. So I'll add a flash drive in this as well. Right, so a small little flash drive, right? We'll call it flash drive 1 gig. Again, I'm not going to make that the default, but as you can see, you can choose what is your default item. You can change that around, of course, right? Very simple to go up here to manage devices and change what you want to be the default. You'll see what the need for making something default here is in just a moment. Right. Now, this tool has all the same features you'd expect in terms of functionality. It can do tagging and bookmarking and report generating, all of those kinds of things. Lots of different options to be able to do that. Right. But today what I want to focus on is what can it do for you forensically, right? So what can we do forensically? So now that I've got that in there, obviously if I want to, I can just simply double click on a piece of evidence. It's going to open up the file system browser. Right, so file system browser, as you'd expect with any tool, then I can just simply browse through the folder structure, right, poke around, and I can start poking at data. The different colors here will indicate whether they're encrypted, whether they are symbolic links, whether they're compressed, right? Nice little features to let you know. Things that are deleted, of course, to be able to really tell you what's going on here. As you'd expect, if I click on the BitLocker encrypted drive, I'm not going to get anything. Well, that's because it's encrypted, but we'll deal with that shortly. You can also bring up the file system browser, of course, just by bringing that up through this window. So lots of different ways to get to where you want to go. If I want to view the data, I have to decide how I want to do that. Do I want to look at things based on their file extension? Do I want to look at things based on their file signature? Do I want to identify deleted files? Do I want to data carve and get data out? Lots of different ways we can approach this particular program. I'm going to start with the file name search. This particular block, this particular area is designed to show you any and all types of data based on their extension. To start with, we have a completely separate area to look at things based on their signature. The design is you do what you need to do, right? If you find that the majority of time that files aren't renamed, right, then you can focus on the low-hanging fruit. Here, there's lots of different options here. If I go to the config, I can choose to define things based on dates and times, on attributes. Do I want to see deleted files right here? I can turn that on, I cannot turn it on. Right? I'm basically I can also do things like keyword searches. I can search for files based on their name by doing a search here. I can search for files based on their type by using this dropdown and combine those two. As you can see, it's defaulted to the Walter White Windows. That's because I made that the main piece of evidence, right? If I choose this option, of course, I can choose another piece of evidence. I can choose other devices by opening up any file, right? Any data, any folder, any location out on my drive, right? I can also even be more specific. Say I just want to focus on a particular user's profile, and I just want to focus there. That's what I'll start with. So under the user's profile, I'm going to choose this user. Now, I know that there are going to be hundreds of thousands of files on this Windows 10 machine, right? So because of that, I'm going to focus on just the user profile to see if I can get where I want to faster. So let's say I want to see all of the pictures, right? I can do all large pictures. I can do facial detection and illicit image detection, which we'll see in just a minute. Let's just start with large pictures. Right, I'm going to hit the scan button. In the bottom right-hand corner, you can see it scanning thousands of files. Again, not a very special machine, right? i5, 2.4 gig processor, 16 gigs of RAM, right? Nothing terribly exciting, right? But in a matter of seconds, it's identified all of these pictures. Typical forensic tool, right? We can get a file list with some extra data. I can flip over to thumbnail view. Now, right off the bat, because this is the first time I've gone to thumbnail view, it's got to render those, but then it's going to put it in the case. I won't have to worry about that again. It's going to build that thumbnail database up for me. I can look at a timeline here and I can say, hey, show me all the files in 2022. Then I can say, oh, show me all the files in February 2022. Now show me all the files that fit that defined in 17th. And now in my date and time range, I can get that granular if I need to with this tool. Right, and of course, if I have any that have GPS, which we'll see in a few minutes, right, I can map those. Right, I'm connected to the internet, of course, so I'm going to have that capability to be able to do that. I can pick an individual file, right? I can choose my thumbnail here, and I can pick any individual file that I would like to be able to look at. So, for example, if I pick this picture over here, and I double-click and open it, right, I'm going to be able to see the file, right? It's going to show it to me in hex view if I want to see that. It'll pull out all the strings if I need to do that, and I can do a search in here. So I can do a keyword search right in here if I'm looking for a particular string. File info, your basic information about the file, right? metadata. If there is any metadata, it's going to parse that information, right? This will work for JPEGs, Office documents, right? So it's going to extract that data on the fly. So instead of telling it to process every single file in the case for metadata, you can do it one at a time just by doing a preview here, right? So there's some information in here. Maybe it's useful, maybe it's not. Same thing with OCR. So on the fly, it will do OCRing. So it just OCR'd that file just like that, right? So analyze data community garden, right? So analyze data community garden. So for a quick and easy feature in a matter of seconds, it's parsed everything out of there I might want to be interested in. Right? If I do the same thing, for example, with this slot machine, right, where everything is turned sideways, a picture of a slot machine, right? Same thing. If I turn it sideways, right, that's not going to make a difference. Has no problem with that. A lot of tools that we've seen that do OCRing, if the information isn't level and straight left and right, it's not going to work. This tool doesn't have that issue. If it's on its side, if it's upside down, shouldn't make a difference. This tool has the ability to OCR it on the fly. Of course, we can also search that data later if we decide we want to do that. Other things I can do with this list, right? Again, I can change to any of these different features. By default, this screen is just doing extensions, right? It's just doing extensions. If I want to do signature analysis and look for a file type, we can certainly do that, right? We can certainly do that. But right now, I'm just focused on that low-hanging fruit. The other thing I can do is I can say sort and do some additional things. I can sort by anything I want. I can also tell it, hey, tell me if there are any illicit images, right? So right on the fly here, it's going to take these 190 files and it's going to determine if there are any illicit images. Now, obviously, this takes a little bit longer simply because it's processing on the fly, right? It's processing on the fly. But once again, not a very powerful machine. Right, only an i5 with a 2.4 gig processor, which is not very powerful, and 16 gigs of RAM. The other thing is if I had spread my data out a little bit better. Again, I've just got my case folder on my OS drive, and then my evidence is on a separate drive. But what I'd like to do is spread that out a little bit more, right? But because of this demonstration, I wanted to show you just how it could do based on what this weak machine has, right? So now I'm going to go back to my list here just so I can see here. Now I should have my categories illicit image score and face score, so I can sort here, right? So I can sort, and now I've got 88% is likely illicit image, and lo and behold, that's got some nudity in it or close to it, right? So percentages here. I can also on the fly tell it, you know what, do face detect for me. So now it's going to go through those 190 pictures and do facial recognition and determine if there are faces. So really just a matter of seconds. And obviously, this is going to be dependent on how powerful your system is, right? How powerful your system is, and of course, how many files you're having it go through, right? Right now, I'm potentially going through a lot of internet artifacts because I'm using a user profile. So my Firefox cache, my Chrome cache, and a variety of other things are going to be parsed here. So that's why you have the ability to filter through and kind of narrow your focus. So in just a moment, this is going to be finished. It's going to go through these 190, right? So what was that? Maybe 60 seconds or so to go through that. And now I can sort here. And now I have these percentages that will determine if they have faces. A number above 100% likely indicates to me that there are multiple faces, right? There are 2 faces, right? So it's doing, just for quick and easy features, very, very user-friendly. So we can configure our settings. We can choose a variety of search types, and then we can add these additional features here. For example, if I want Office documents, right, as simple as that, I change to Office documents in my preset, and I do a search, and now it's going to go through and it's going to identify all the Office documents within here. So it's identified some Arabic name files, obviously English name files. You can change the preferences. You can tell it specifically what type you want it to do. If I change this to user-defined search, right, you can see this is the last search that it did. So this is what it defined as user-defined, right? I can also then, of course, change that, and I can do a variety of keyword searches, right? So if I just want to do a search for a word or a name, right? So if I do a search for, say, funding, now I've just done now I'm doing a keyword search. In the bottom here, you can see it's going through everything. So this is just searching right now. This is just searching file name. If you want to search the body of the file, right, we can do that as well. We've got indexing as an option. We can index this case. We can do regular expression searches. So all the main features you'd expect to find. Of course, we've got signature analysis and looking for files based on their header here in just a moment. We can also do hash analysis. So you can create your own hash libraries. You can import other hash libraries. Real quick, I will do large images one last time, just so that I can quickly jump back over here. That's doing that again. Don't need you to do that. I want to do GPS. Oh no, sorry. I got to choose this option, photos with GPS locations. So let it determine if there are any pictures that have embedded. This tool will process files from mobile phones. For example, if you pull out plist files or SQLite databases from phones, it can parse them. You can bring in files from iPhones and Android phones depending on how you've captured the data. It doesn't parse, for example, oxygen forensic case files and those kinds of things. But this tool does have the ability to create an image or backup of Android phones, and it can parse Android phones, certain Android options. So don't care about face detection at the moment. And I'm going to change to map. Right, so now I've done GPS, right? I can see all the dots where all the pictures are taken, right? Then I can zoom in, of course. If I just zoom in using my little wheelie mouse here, right? I can mouse over, I can see that picture. And if I zoom in and keep zooming in, if there are multiple pictures taken in an area, it's going to break them out. I don't know how many pictures I have in multiple places. So here's some Atlanta pictures, right? So keep zooming in, and I can just mouse over, and I can preview those. Other ways we can do this as well. This is just kind of the simple and easy way if you just want a quick little preview. So that is for files based on file name. As I said, we can go to our config here. We can also include deleted files, right? So I want to do active files and deleted files. I can see them on this screen. If I just want to focus on deleted files, I can do that. I have a completely separate tab that's defined for that. So if you want the ability to break things down further, you can. So if I want to find all the deleted files, in fact, I'll switch over here to my flash drive, right? Switch over to my flash drive here, right? Take a look at my options, right? In our training class, of course, we cover what the difference is between these different types of deleted files, what makes them into these different categories. You can define these different things, and of course, you have your data carving. Right? I'm going to show you data carving in a moment. First, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, just find me all the deleted files on the flash drive. Right? So here are all the deleted files that are on the flash drive. Right? So that fast, that quick. Well, look at that, BitLocker recovery key. That could be helpful to us. Right? So that could be helpful to us. So now we've identified this. This could be the recovery key to our encrypted volume. If it turns out it is, all I got to do is open this file up. Right? We're going to match up identifiers. I'm going to skip that step for now because, again, we have limited time. Right, so I'm going to match up the identifier. Turns out this is indeed the recovery key for our partition, right? So I've got that information now. I can actually go back to my managed case and take a look at the device. And now I can say, add my BitLocker encrypted drive. It knows, right? It knows that one of these is a BitLocker encrypted drive. I'm going to choose that BitLocker encrypted drive. I gave it a good name. This will be the new name when it gets added to the case. I choose OK. It says, great, tell me what the password or recovery key is. Well, here's your recovery key. Click OK. Click OK. And now I have a new piece of evidence, my BitLocker recovered drive. Double click on that. It should open up in my file system browser. And lo and behold, it is now no longer, right? It is no longer encrypted. So if you have the password to that machine, or the password for that volume, or the recovery key, just that quick, you can get access to that data, right? And it's parsing it obviously on the fly. I can change my view here to thumbnails if I want. I can do a variety of things. And of course, I can now use this. If I want to go to file name search and say, hey, the recovery drive, which I've inadvertently made the default, right? I can say, hey, show me all the large images there, and now it's going to be able to parse that, right? Simply because, and of course it keeps wanting to do facial detection because I've got it set over here, but I can turn that off. So now it's in a matter of seconds, it's found all of those pictures. So quickly able to process that. Real quick, I'm going to go back to my manage case and manage devices. I want to set the Windows partition again as the default device, not the BitLocker drive. So that's easy to change on the fly. So we've got some deleted files here. If I want to data carve, and I'll tell you this is one of the fanciest things about this tool I've seen. If I decide I want to data carve, there's two very cool features this tool has that I've not seen in others. Not that they don't exist, I'm just saying I haven't seen them. Number one is only scan on sector boundaries. What that means is when it's data carving, it's not going to be scanning for file headers in the middle of clusters, right? It's only going to start at sector boundaries. That's going to exponentially increase the speed in which it will do this, right? So you can, again, low-hanging fruit. We can go back and do this multiple times. The other nice thing is you can break it up. You can say only data carve the first 20% of the drive, right? Only data carve 10%. You can do it in chunks so that you can get control of your system back. You don't have to wait potentially for a couple hours for it to parse a 2 terabyte image, right? Break it up into smaller chunks and get the control back faster so you can do other things. So I love these two features, right? I love these two features. I'm just going to go ahead and leave the defaults for now and say, you know what, go ahead and data carve for whatever it is, which is pretty much everything. Do a quick scan. It's going to give us a status here. It's going to give us a breakdown of what it's data carving, what it's able to find. Oh, you know what? I didn't want to data carve, apologize. Didn't want to data carve the Windows partition. Not that it'll take too long, because nothing really takes too long here, but we only have an hour. So I am going to data carve just the flash drive. So in a matter of a couple of seconds here, again, it's only 1 gig, but you can kind of extrapolate if it was bigger than 1 gig, how long it would take, right? So now we've got our details. Once again, once this is done, it will database these, so we won't have to worry about those thumbnails. Right, so all these files that it is data carved, these movies and these pictures in a matter of a few seconds. Right, so very, very powerful, very, very fast. And again, the ability to control not just the file types, but where it's going to data carve, and even more specifically, you can break it. I'll do 10% now, and I'll do the 10 to 20% later, and I can do 20% and 80%, 100% overnight. So that's file names, right, and deleted files. And again, that's based on, by default, it's basing it on file extension, of course, except for data carving, which is file headers. If you want to focus on data based solely on their file header, well, that's what the mismatch file search is. Now, it's not just for mismatches, right? If you just want to find all the JPEGs based on their file header, you can do that as well. If we go to our config here, right, once we set up some parameters, we can say, not only just show only mismatch, show me everything. So if you want to find everything based on their file header, this is where we're going to go and do our signature analysis. It's designed initially to just show you the things that are mismatched. Notice there's some nice features here where it will automatically exclude your browser artifacts. That's obviously going to be nice because if you're familiar at all with Chrome and Firefox and Edge, how they store their temporary files or their cache files, none of them have file extensions. So all of them are going to be defined as mismatches, and you may not want to search there. So I can choose my entire user profile if I want to, right? I can choose my entire user profile or whatever my boundary is, and I can say, find me all the files, right? And then if I want to exclude the browser artifacts, I can do that. I didn't do that right now solely because I want you to see, right? Look how many files it's going through here, right? Hundreds of files per second, right? I'm going to be able to parse through, tens of thousands of files in a matter of seconds and minutes and be able to get the information that I need, right? So I'm already 9,000 files in, again, in my very, very average level workstation here, right? So in less than 2 minutes, I'm going to parse the entire. Now, what I've done, of course, is I've gotten all of these artifacts from the browsers. What I should have done, right? What I should have done was exclude those, right? But you can see even if you do make a mistake, we're not going to be sitting here for longer than maybe 60 or 90 seconds. Imagine if you had a decked out forensic workstation like a digital intelligence spread, you would be able to cruise through this, right? So I'm done now, right? 725 mismatched files, and the majority of these are, of course, going to be browser artifacts, which is why those options exist. So multiple ways to find data based on their name, file type, file extension, file header, data carving, all kind of broken out. And it's done nicely like that so that you can really focus on what you want. Again, it may change the way you're used to doing digital forensics, but based on the speed and what it can do for you, you think you might find it beneficial. Lots of built-in features, especially for Windows-based stuff. For example, the thumb cache viewer, right? The thumb cache viewer here, if you're not familiar, these are thumbnail files that are created by the operating system based on what you're doing. I'm going to tell it to go ahead and scan the drive and see what it can find. It's found a variety of user profiles, right? I got my thumb cache files, right? I got my thumb cache files here. So I have a list of thumbnails. If, of course, I want to view the thumbnail, I can do that. I can obviously adjust my window. I'd really like to know what the names of these files were. Well, fortunately, OSForensics can parse ESE databases. So if I do load ESE database, because it knows it's a Windows drive, it thinks it knows where that database is supposed to be, right? You can also obviously bring in external files and external thumbnail files and databases, right? But I'm going to go ahead and just let it do the default here, which is what I want it to do. I'm looking at a forensic image. Now, lo and behold, it's parsed that data and come up with the path and original location of those files, right? So if you're familiar with thumb cache, you can see just how powerful and beneficial this can be for you. Right? Once again, I can bring in exterior data with almost every feature of this tool. If I've been using another forensic tool or something as simple as FTK Imager and I export out files from an EO1, I can use this just to parse individual files and folders, databases, or whatever. I don't actually have to load the entire image and create a whole case for it. I can just parse individual files. You know, if I want to do something like emails, I want to look at emails. All right, no problem. Obviously, I can tell this tool, I can have the tool scan for email, but if I happen to know where it is, right, I can just tell it to go right in and say, all right, well, I think there's email on the Windows profile under users here. Heisenberg, I happen to know this particular drive, so I know that under app data and roaming, they happen to have Thunderbird as one of the mail programs. So if you know where you're going, right, I'm jumping right in here, right? I've got Outlook 365. Here's the inbox. Double click on the inbox. All right, there we go. Now we got an email viewer. It does mboxes, dbxs, psts, osts, you know, a wide array of them, right? It obviously, if it's got email attachments, I can pick an individual mail here. Of course, I can change my view. I can change how I'm going to have it look. If I want to see the headers, right, I can see the email headers. Right? I can sort and I can say, hey, show me all the statistics. So now it says, hey, these are all the people that we've got email to and from, and first time and last time. I can also search through an email box, and I can say, oh, where'd it go? There you are. Right? I can also say pick an email address, and it'll parse and whatever I currently have open and allow me to find all the email related to that person if there are hundreds of thousands of messages. Lots of different ways to approach this, right? Lots of different ways to approach this. And again, you can just throw a PST file at an OST file or whatever type of mail file that you want. I don't think these have any attachments on them. I should open up a different one. But if they had attachments, of course, we'd be able to see those and parse it. Right? All your typical filterings. We can also use regular expressions to search in here for things that are in subject lines and contain something in a to or from. An array of options there. If you happen to have an image that has shadow volumes, I've never seen a tool deal with shadow volumes as well as this one. So I'm going to go ahead and add, shadow volume here, right? So this particular one, I happen to know it's here. If you didn't know, right, it can say, all right, once you choose, just like adding another piece of evidence, like you add a BitLocker drive, you add a shadow volume shadow. If you have multiple shadow volumes, this particular image only happens to have one, but if it had 10, you can add them all, right? So you can bring in a shadow volume, right? You can choose to add that in, right? So now I got a shadow volume. So now I have another piece of evidence technically, right? It's a snapshot of that drive. And if I go to the shadow viewer, which I think might be on the main page here, go to my start button, analyze shadow volumes, where are you? Well, of course my eyes don't want to work because there is a time pressure. Where are you? Analyze shadow copies. Right, so once you launch this, it's going to give you the option. It's going to give you the option to choose, right? What do you want your source to be, right? So what do you want your source to be? What's the current volume? What's the old volume? So if you had multiple shadow copies here, right, you would choose, you could analyze between two different volume snapshots and see what's changed between those. I can do it through the current drive, right, or whatever I want it to be. So I'm not going to run this right now because it does take about 5 or 6 or 7 minutes, right? But what it would look like when it's all said and done is this. So once the results are done, I think it took me about, I don't know, 6 minutes yesterday for this to run, right? What it does is it says, hey, the comparison of your two shadow volumes, now you have a list of hundreds, maybe even thousands of files, which ones have been modified, which ones have been added, which ones have been deleted, and if there are even deleted items that are available in the old shadow volume that aren't available in the new version, the current version of the OS, you can open them up and view them, right? I've never seen a tool as smoothly processing. Now, because it's going through, like I said, it processes about, 60 gigs worth of data between the shadow volume. It took me about 6 minutes. Very, very simple to do and can provide you with a lot of cool information if shadow volumes exist in the case that you're working. System information, which is probably where I should have started with this. The system information is going to do a quick search of the registry here to break down a variety of things for this drive, right? Well, actually what this is doing, this is actually parsing the live machine. I apologize. System information right now I'm doing, this is not. This is the shadow volume. Let me go back to my Windows partition and scan that. This is also very powerful if you are on a live machine, right? So I got my computer name, all your typical stuff you'd pull out of the registry, right? User information, so these are the different users with SID values and RID values, right? It's hardware things, dates and times, right? We can actually run this on the live machine, right? We can run this against the live machine, right? This particular feature is designed to be you can also do it on a live machine. So if I decide I wanted to do that, and then I can choose different options. I can say recover BitLocker keys. I can just say determine if it's BitLocker. If you are doing DFIR, incident response cases, this is very powerful to potentially be able to recover data. Obviously, we can do things like memory captures on live machines. So for example, I do BitLocker detection against my live machine. It's saying, hey, you're doing this on a live machine, right? No problem. Runs the correct commands, right? And then spits back the information, right? So the D drive is not encrypted. The C drive is not encrypted. The B drive not encrypted. Oh, lo and behold, the E drive is indeed encrypted, and it is. So again, this tool has powerful features for the office, powerful features for the field. As I said, there's a memory viewer that's built in. We can use this to view on the fly. It doesn't do me a lot of good on my forensic machine, but if I was using a portable drive with OSF on it, it gives me information about processes. I can click on these processes. It's going to give me information about those processes, handles and modules and resources that it's using, right? If you're not familiar with what any of this stuff means, if you need some information on incident response cases, by all means, come to our knife training, our network intrusion training. We'll cover that. We do a ton of stuff with memory and forensic artifacts related to compromises and incident response type stuff, malware investigations. We open up and examine some PCAP files and some memory dumps, a lot of cool stuff. Obviously, we can do a physical memory dump. We wouldn't do this on my live machine, but on my portable drive, I can take this with me. And then static analysis, I can use a variety of features to parse and process. And then you can use tools like Volatility Workbench. If you're not familiar with a tool called Volatility, it is excellent for parsing memory. OSForensics has a free add-on called Volatility Workbench, which gives you almost all the same features that you have to be able to do it in a GUI environment. So very user-friendly. Again, we cover that in our network intrusion class and a little bit in the OSForensics class. All right. I only got about 15 minutes left, so what I'm going to do in these 15 minutes is I'm going to really show you what you came for, right? This is probably worth the price of admission in and of itself, the user activity button, right? The user activity button, as you can see, is designed to get you all your favorites, right? This is all the hits, right? Now, normally what you would do is you'd pick and choose the things that you would want. I'm going to tell it, you know what? Do everything. Right? Do everything. Now compare this to most of your other forensic tools. Again, full forensic image, right? Full forensic image. I'm going to change this to the OS drive. I could do it on the shadow copy, but I'm not today, but you certainly could, right? Full forensic image here. Nothing cheating, nothing being parsed out, nothing removed. We didn't take out a single file from this image. If you were to restore this image and boot it up, it would work perfectly, right? It's parsing all of the commonly known data. If you want to do a deeper dive, you can. Right? But low-hanging fruit often gets you what you need, right? So in about, I don't know, 60 seconds or so, it's going to parse this entire drive for every single one of these artifacts. I don't know what that was, 60 seconds or less, as I'm going to guess. This is what I've got so far, and it is beautifully organized, right? If I take a look at most recently used, if I just click on there, it's going to show me everything from registry-related items to link files, everything that you might have a reference to recent files. If I want to break it down, right, the recent files section is based on registry items, ntuser.registry, and then shortcuts, well, these are based on the link files that are in each person's user profile. All the information that you would need or want that you would want parsed from that. Is it a removable type? What's the volume serial number? What's the volume name? All those dates and times. All that work done for you. Volume GUID, object ID, all that information if you're trying to do that link analysis. As you can see, it breaks down all the other features as well. So if you got VLC Media Player installed, right? Got VLC Media Player installed and somebody watched some videos, lo and behold, here they are. Right? So it knows all the common local artifacts to find for recent file activity. It also, of course, parses the jump lists. If you're not familiar with jump lists, right? That's the feature by right-click on something in the toolbar. This is a jump list. So it parses those. They're basically link files, but it knows how to parse them, right? It'll tell you where they're coming from, you know, what application, right? And where that resource might be located locally, right? Other things we can do with this, installed applications. If you're doing a DFIR investigation, something that's going to do, you're looking for malware being run, there's lots of places you're going to have to look for that, right? So you're going to potentially want to figure out installed applications, right? But you also want to figure out things that are being just run, standalone executables, right? So you've got things like shim cache that'll tell us about applications that are installed. You've got the AM cache. You've got prefetch. There's tons of stuff. So here's the prefetch files. These are all the files that were created by the OS that are tracking the applications that you're running, right? This will track up to 1,024 different files related to, or 1,024 different applications that may have been run. Now, if you are familiar with prefetch, you'll know not just does it track, the applications that you run and the dates and times. If I go over here to program artifacts, right? In addition, in program artifacts, and I look at prefetch here, right? And I tell it to look at these. These are the same prefetch files, the same information, but now it will parse the prefetch file. Let me find something here. Where is? I'm gonna look at Notepad. I know Notepad has something interesting inside it. I'm gonna sort there, and I'm just gonna go to the ends. Right? Is Notepad in here? Yeah. So here's Notepad. In addition to the fact that it tells you what applications were run, it also tells you what resources and files were opened. Well, look at this. Here is our reference to the BitLocker recovery key. Right? So even if we hadn't found it the way we found it on the flash drive, maybe we would have found it someplace else. So lots of information here. Lots of information that we can get out of here. So this user activity is unbelievably powerful, right? Unbelievably powerful. As you can imagine, right, it's got stuff in here for the recycle bin. It parses the recycle bins for us, right? It will tell us what the name of the recycle bin was. It does the matchup between the RID and the information in the registry, tells us what the original name was. Right? We can go through a ton of stuff related to the browsers, right? So here's all the downloads based on what browser. Here's all the browser artifacts, the history based on the browser, right? Here are all of our keyword searches that were done within those individual browsers. Form history, like things like our names and address, telephone number, that kind of stuff when you fill out forms online. Bookmarks, and if I can remember where the heck it is, it should be website logins. So there's login data here, right? If you know the login password, you can go to config, right? You can go to config and you can tell it what the login credentials are, and it will parse those login credentials. It'll find things for things like Wi-Fi passwords and a variety of things that are tied to your local login credentials. So it'll find that information. We can put this in a couple different places, and it parses that data, and it will tell you what the password is. So tons and tons of things. Just this feature alone, it tells us about anti-forensic stuff. So what is on here, right? So I guess I run CCleaner, right? CCleaner's been on here. So it identifies things that you might be interested in. Again, if you're doing DFIR related stuff, right? Or the different type of forensics. Event logs. So it's going to do a quick and easy parse of the event logs and just break them down into generic categories, right? Here's all our logons, right? Based on event ID, right? So based on event ID and the different types of information here. So it's going to do a quick parse of all of these different things. If that's not deep enough for you, right? If that's not deep enough for you, we can actually go out to our main page again and find our event log viewer. Now, a lot of you have probably been using Windows Event Viewer to do your event logs. That's what I normally do. In our network intrusion class, that's what we use because it's free. But if you have this tool, you won't do it anymore. Because what you're going to do is you're going to say, all right, go to my OS drive, give me a scan, and tell me what event logs you find. Remember, this is doing the low-hanging fruit. If you need a deeper dive, it will do that for you. Right? So now I can break this down. Here are all the event logs that it's found. Right? I can click on any one of them and parse them if I want and look at the data. I can throw a bunch of filters in here. I can set a bunch of rules. I can say, hey, find me all event IDs that equal 4624, right? Do that. Here, there's all my 4624. Actually, no, I think I typoed that. So yeah, so you can set, actually you need to add it, but you can define whatever types of parameters, not to mention there's a ton that are already built in, right? So you can utilize, so here's, give me all the successful logins. It's going to parse all the individual event logs, right? And find anything that meets the criteria, right? So here's all my event logs, all my logins, and then a breakdown, different login types. We can apply some filters and search for whatever login type you want. If you want user logins, network logins, if you want to look for remote desktop logins, all of that kind of stuff, right? You can do all that kind of stuff. So super powerful, right? So sometimes the user activity gives you what you need, and sometimes you got to go a little deeper, right? You know, for example, if I want my USB stuff, here's all my USB devices. It's parsing not just the registry, but also the event logs. So it's grabbing event log data, registry data. So USB store, right? USB store and your SCSI in the registry, as well as event logs. Right? We've got a registry viewer built in. So if you want to look at a particular registry file and go deeper down the rabbit hole, of course you can do that as well. So pick your favorite registry file, right? Pick your favorite registry file, right? And then just parse your way through as you would with any traditional registry viewing application, right? So enum USB store, right? Here's the information that I have on my USB devices. Other stuff that we can do, obviously we can create forensic images, right? We can create forensic images. I can create physical disk images. I can restore images. I can rebuild RAIDs. That's a super cool feature. Doesn't cost you anything extra. I can create logical evidence files. I can even grab stuff from cloud and cloud email. We're adding more of these features, right? Obviously you have to have the legal authority to be able to do that and the credentials to be able to do it. But if you can choose Cloud Drive, right? You can choose Cloud Drive and you can choose that. It'll ask you what kind of, what do you want to get, right? And attest that you have authorization, right? Lots and lots of features in terms of acquisition if you need it. As you can imagine, it's got hash analysis built in. It's got indexing built in. So if I want to create an index, I can create an index with all sorts of different features. Once you have the index, of course, you can search the index, right? You can search your index. As you'd imagine, we cover this in great detail in our training class. It's got booting to virtual machine, which is amazing. It's built into this tool. So all you have to do is download, a free VM environment like, which one do I have installed here? So I can use, so I choose boot virtual. So I just downloaded VirtualBox 6.1. It's free. I tell it my image file. I set my parameters. I usually turn off USB because sometimes USB is finicky. And I launch this bad boy, and it will launch a virtual environment. No extra cost, no extra purchases required. It's got database viewers. It's got the USN journal viewer, which is, I've not seen this in a lot of forensic tools. Really parses this really well, right? So this is a file from the NTFS file system that will tell you about different changes to the file system. As you can imagine, we've got regular expression searches. We've got all sorts of features. You've even got the ability to do remote acquisition across the network. So in essence, enterprise acquisition across your business environments if you want to be able to do that. As I said, we can install to a USB device, right? Just simply add the features of OS Forensics to an existing USB flash drive or hard drive, right? Or you can make a bootable version so you can boot into a forensic environment, right? Using a secure version of Windows that you can then boot to. Just add your license key in here, and now you've got a bootable version you can take out into the field. So a laundry list of features for what is a very manageable and reasonable price. So most of your features are going to be available here in your workflow tab. As you can see, there are a ton more, right? Like I said, if you want to look at ESE databases, either the one that's currently in your case, or you can open one outside the case if you exported it out. If you've gotplists from Apple iPhones, if you've got SQLite databases from phones or other devices, it's got SQL database viewer built in. JSON viewer, if you got JSON files. So I mean, it's just got a ton of amazing features that's super useful and so fast. Again, this auto triage, you wouldn't normally use this on your machine, but this is what you would put on a portable drive. And this is the kind of stuff it's going to go auto grab for you. You can pick and choose. You can define what you want it to create. Obviously, it'll create files, but it's also going to grab files if you want to, right? You can have it auto grab a memory dump. So it's designed for triage, on-site preview and collection, as well as full processing in the office. All right, so tons and tons of options for you to be able to manage. File hashing. Did we talk about that? No, yeah, so we also got hashing, right? So there's some built-in libraries, and of course you can create your own on the fly. All right, so we've been working with Passmark for about 3 months now, since we've been really learning the tool and developing this brand new class. So we're learning more and more about it every day. We're adding more and more features. Like I said, they're very open to customer input, adding features and modifications. So it's been a very good experience for us. All right. So that pretty much brings us to the end of our presentation here. I appreciate you coming. If you have any questions that weren't able to get answered, I apologize. I know I was going 100 miles an hour. Hopefully Sarah was able to keep up for me. But if you have any additional questions, follow-up questions, please just email training@digitalintelligence.com. If you have my personal email, you're welcome to email me there as well. Any additional questions or stuff about the license, training, anything customized we can do for you. If you want to build custom classes and training, we can do that with either our network intrusion stuff, our internet forensics courses, our advanced Windows 10 and 11 classes, or any of our tool-based classes. So I thank you very much for attending.